here. Finally, we are doing it. I'm ranking every single eyeshadow palette in my collection. I have been dreading this video for a very, very long time. And I finally, a couple of days ago, put these ranking piles in order. And already today I'm changing it. I'm like, no, that's wrong. No, I like this better than that one. So this has been the hardest thing that I have made myself do on this channel. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but maybe not. Okay, so we have a lot of palettes here. I don't recall how many I have. I'll put up on the screen. I'm ranking it from my least favorite to my favorite. I have ranked all of my makeup now in, for the most part, like the bigger categories. And I have all of those videos linked in my description. I've done like a little playlist for you. So if you have not seen all of my ranking videos so far of my makeup collection, go check those out. But obviously a lot of people wanted to see the eyeshadow palette ranking. And yeah, I get it. This is the most fun, but it's like the worst one to do. Okay. Okay, all right. I'm just nervous. Okay, so what I have done is I have put 4 different groups together. Is it 4? It's 4 different groups. So the group 4 would be the lowest group, or like a tier system, whatever. We're doing like a tier system, okay? Let's think of it that way. So bottom tier are gonna be palettes that are on the chopping block. I would not miss if, you know, I got rid of them, so that potentially they will be decluttered. Some of them might potentially last a declutter because I am a hoarder of some sorts, so I don't like to get rid of certain things in my collection. But there's certainly palettes that I could say goodbye to and I wouldn't miss, or I might end up depotting certain shades from that palette and then letting go, or they're getting too old and I feel like they should be in this pile. So for the most part, that is going to be my tier 4 and my lowest ranking palettes. Moving on to tier 3, these are palettes that I do like in my collection, but they're nothing special. So in my mind, I was thinking, I wouldn't really miss them if they disappeared from my collection, or their color story is not super unique. I could find this in a different palette. So they don't really necessarily stand out in my collection, whether it be formula or whether it be color story or both, or just the brand itself. So there is tier 3 list where I just really couldn't put them in the bottom, but I couldn't put them in my tier 2s. My tier 2s are palettes that I love. I love these palettes for whatever reason, but I could say goodbye to them if I wanted to. But I love them and I wouldn't want to declutter them. So, you know, they're ones that I would miss. So tier 3 are ones that potentially, if I did lose them, they smashed, you know, whatever, they got moldy and I had to let go of them, I wouldn't be that sad. Tier 2, I would be very sad if I had to let go of these palettes. However, tier 1 are my absolute favorites. I would be devastated if I lost these palettes, or I would just want to buy them again. Like, they are like the top tier. And again, I'm already looking at that list that I have over in the corner over here, and I'm thinking, are they the ones that I really love? I don't know, because my mind keeps changing. So I'm going to do this video now before I change my mind on all of these piles, because it has driven me absolutely crazy. I spent a whole afternoon doing this, and I was spraying everything, cleaning everything, you know, getting it all ready. And then today, yeah, I'm already like, no, I disagree with my past self. But we are here today, we're living in the present, and we're just gonna go with what I have, okay? Okay. All right, long introduction. The first one I have right here is from Nomad. So this could be just the wrong palette, wrong time for me. This is a K-beauty brand. This is the Better Than palette range, and it's the Mahogany Garden palette. And this is a very neutral leaning palette. I think the problem that I've always had, or I've just been super disappointed in this palette, is I didn't realize that these shades were glitter shades. And so I'm already getting less shades in here that I really want to use. It's very matte heavy. And then the fact that it has 2 glitters, only 2 sort of satiny shimmery shades. It's just a palette that I overall felt quite disappointed in. I did do a pretty look with it. It was fine, but it's not a palette that I'm running back to and wanting to use. I think the mattes worked fine as well, but they're pretty pale and light. So again, it's not going to work for everyone. And I just think overall, with the amount of money that I spent on this palette, I think it was like 24 or something euros. It just seemed like a drugstore brand. It seemed worse than Revolution, and Revolution you can get palettes for like £10. So I just feel like this was very overpriced for what it was, and I did not like it. I did not like it. So yeah, at the bottom of the list. I just realized I don't know where to put the palettes that I've already spoken about. Okay, let me move on. All right, then we have the Jewels and Gem from Odin's Eye. I love this color story, but I do not like Odin's Eye formula. And I have always said that. So I'm not one of the ones that are saying, oh, they've changed their formula. It's not as good as it used to be. I've never liked their formula, but maybe I've just never had a really good palette from them. This one is a real dud though, because there are some shades in here that just have never done well. So it's not that it's getting old and it doesn't do well. Some of these shimmers are just so dry. They're like, I don't know, sand really. I'm trying to put it on my lid and it's just very unpleasant. I love the color story of this. Obviously, that's why I purchased it. And, you know, I was thinking, well, you know what, maybe they've improved their formula. And I just felt like this was actually the worst one that I had from Odin's Eye. I have since decluttered all of my other Odin's Eye palettes. This is the only one that I have left. Am I going to keep it? Who knows? Who knows? This is not a declutter video, but I will be doing a declutter series very, very soon on my channel. But this one I've had to put here because it's just such a disappointment. There are some gorgeous shades, like this one here, particular Swoon, stunning. And if all of the shades were like this, if I swatch everything, this is probably gonna be a long video. It is a pretty shade but that is one out of how many? It's just not enough for me. Next up, we've got my Shigam Virtuous Virgo. So this one I just rolled out of my Pan Those eyeshadows because I was just getting a little tired of it. I actually really like these grungy greens. They're like these dirty, I don't know, pukey green colors, and I think they're very flattering sometimes, but I just got really bored of it and I wanted to roll it out of my Pan Those eyeshadows. And I think overall the quality of this is just not as good as a lot of palettes in my collection, so obviously it's going to be in the bottom rank. I was working on this shade. This one unfortunately is a glitter too. Had it not been a glitter, I was very excited about this shade when I first picked this up, but it's a glitter, and so you get like a lot of satin shades, mattes, and then one glitter. Again, overall, not really a fan of the formula. And also, these shades are not very special in my collection. I do have a lot of greens in my collection, I've realized, and I can replicate these shades in other palettes. So overall, do I need to keep this? Probably not. Okay, next up, are we surprised? We are not surprised. This is the Corta Rosa palette from Sigma. So this palette seems to be fine for some people. For me personally, I was massively disappointed in this palette. I did not care for the formula. It's the only Sigma palette that I've ever tried, but it's put me off so much that I have never purchased another palette from them. If they were more affordable, I probably would have, because their color stories have always been really beautiful, and I've always wanted to purchase like the, what was it, the Cinderella palette I really liked, or was it the Mermaid, Little Mermaid one of those Disney ones, and then also some of their neutral ones, like the cool neutrals or whatever it was. I thought that was really pretty too, but I really didn't like the formula of this, and I feel like that's probably what I would get in other palettes. And this one, I love the color story. I was so excited to buy this. I did get a decent discount off of it when I did buy it. I didn't buy it full price. And I'm very happy with that because I really don't enjoy their topper shades. I really don't like them. You get some hard pans in some of these shimmers too. I think the mattes perform fine. I've never had an issue with the mattes aside from this one, which literally does not show up on my eyes at all. And overall, I've always said I really don't like this palette. You can clearly see I have actually used it quite a lot. I have a couple pans in here, but I think I'm at the point now. It's been on the chopping block for like 2.5 years in my collection. I don't think I need it anymore, so that's why I've had to put it in the bottom tier. Okay, this next one will be a little bit of a surprise, I think, but I'm gonna put my Monsoon, or the Desert Monsoon from What's Up Beauty here. I think overall, I do just find this color story just too random for me. And I do like the formula of this, but I think as a palette itself, I'm just never interested in going into this. I know my lighting might be going a little funny because it's very reflective. It is a gorgeous palette. It really is. And honestly, the shades in here are pretty, but I have to be honest with myself. I don't think I like this palette. And so I've had to put it in this tier because if I did not have this palette, I don't think I would miss it. Now, those shimmers are very pretty, but I also have really pretty shimmers in palettes that excite me, that I really enjoy. And I think this one overall, I do find it to be a little bit bland. I don't know what it is about it. I did buy it in the bundle. So I got the bundle where you get the Dragon's Eye palette, Geo's palette, and then you get this. So had I just bought this myself, and then say, oh, I don't like the color story. It would have been my fault, but I never really had an interest in buying this palette, but because I saw that bundle, I was like, cha-ching, that makes complete sense. I'll get 3 palettes for a really good price, blah, blah, blah. But I think overall, I've just never enjoyed the look of this. And playing with it, I think it's been fine, but I also just find it so boring. So I've had to put it here for some reason, and I'm sorry, that is a shock. It shocked me too, but I had to be honest with myself. Okay, this one is a palette that has fallen from grace in my collection. Had you asked me to do this a couple years ago, I know I was rating this palette really high in my collection, but I just don't think I like it anymore. It is the Nabla Dreamy palette, and I think it's just about preference. I don't think overall I'm into these rosy pink blush tones anymore. Also, I've never really enjoyed these purples over here, so while I think this is a nice palette and I think the formula is really pretty, it very much reminds me of the good ABH formula. I think it's very reminiscent of that in terms of like how thick and chunky some of the shades are, like in terms of the shimmers. And I think the matte formula in here is actually a little bit better than ABH. It's not super powdery, whatever, but it did heavily remind me of that. And I was very much into my ABH Novena at the time. And I was like, oh, I love these 2 palettes together. But I have recently gone into this, I think maybe a month or 2 ago. I think it was for February actually, so it would have been like a month and a half ago now. I just found this to be kind of boring. I don't know what it is. And I think it's all about preference. I think I'm being a little bit more adventurous with what I'm wearing. And I think overall, I find this one to be quite boring too. I don't know what it is. So it definitely has fallen from grace. Like I said, it would have been in one of the higher tiers, but now if I did not have this in my collection, I wouldn't really care because I generally always forget that I have it. So that's not a good sign. Okay, this is another one that's kind of fallen from grace because I realized that I don't care for it as much as I thought I did. So I've got the California Love from Colourpop. This is one of the only palettes that I have not completely taken out of the packaging and put in my singles. I might end up seeing if any of these add something to my singles if I do end up decluttering this, or I might keep the palette as is. But I think overall, I really liked the color story of this, but as much as I say I really like this palette, I really like the color story of it, I never want to go into it. I don't find that much interest in going into it anymore. And while I do like some of these shades, like I really like the Diego shade, I think the Cruising shade's really nice, and I think some of these mattes are really pretty too, I just don't have any feelings toward this palette anymore. And I think initially I always felt like I really liked this palette, which I do think I still probably do. But then at the same time, I'm quite happy for it not to be in my collection if suddenly I lost all these palettes. I wouldn't miss it because I don't think about it. So there must be something going on here. Okay, moving on. I'm gonna put this one here the same. It's kind of a similar color story to the one we just looked at. This is from Essence. This is the Circle of Life. Now, while this one is a very similar color story, the formula is very different. I actually think the Colourpop formula is better than this one. However, I am rating this one a little bit higher because I think there's more choice in this palette. And I think this Brute Strength is really pretty. It's actually the reason why I purchased this palette. And I think also they have kind of an interesting shade here. And some of the mattes perform decently well. I actually put this one on my eyes today to blend out the red. So this one I find a little bit, just a tiny bit more interesting than the California Love, but they're very, very similar to each other. And I think overall at the end of the day, this is very inexpensive. If I didn't have it in my collection, I would be fine with it too. Okay, and then another one that's not really a surprise. I'm gonna put my Let's Pop from Gloss Gods here. I have a lot of Gloss Gods palettes and you'll see those scattered around all of the different tiers, but this one made it in the bottom tier, unfortunately. This is the Peach Pop. So they came out with a bunch of different monochromatic little 5-pan palettes. And I think this is the only one that I've tried. So I can only speak to this one, but it's definitely doesn't have very good quality. I do like, and I've always said this, so I'm not gonna keep repeating myself, although I like these 3 shades. I do not like these 2 shades. So there's 2 shades in this palette that I don't generally enjoy, which is not a good ratio in my view. And I don't know, I just think they could have done so much better with this palette. So it's just a huge disappointment. And so that's why I'm putting it here. This could be potentially one that I end up just keeping these 3 shades because this is a very special shade. It's a little thin in terms of the matte quality. And I do think they'd have better mattes in other palettes. but it's a special matte shade for me, for sure. So I kind of would miss that shade in particular. The shimmers I think are stunning, but I don't think overall I would miss them too much, even though they're very, very pretty. I do have a lot of pretty shades in my collection, but the matte is a little bit more special. So it could be one that I end up decluttering, but then saving a few shades. Who knows? Who knows? I haven't decided yet. Okay, this one's gonna be another one that might be a little bit of a shocker, but I'm gonna put my Nude Prism here. I bought this at the same time as I bought the Moon Shroom. This is from Lunar Beauty, and it was the first time that I tried Lunar Beauty, and I'm very pleased that I have tried it. I think overall though, this palette for me in particular is just not the type of palette that, with my huge collection that unfortunately I have accumulated over these years, this one I just don't think about. I find it a little boring, like I said. Now, while I do like doing neutral looks, I like neutral with a twist, and you can't really do a twist in this one. This is just a beautiful, maybe even like a bridal palette, to be fair, like if you're trying to do your makeup for your bride or whatever, or you're just trying to do some beautiful everyday makeup look and you do that all the time. This is a stunning palette. The quality is really, really good. I don't have any negatives to say about it other than the fact that I feel like, for me personally, I made a mistake buying this palette because it's not special enough for me, because I like to do different things every once in a while. I do have a lot of neutral palettes in my collection, and it just doesn't stand out compared to the rest of them. I also think personally I prefer shimmers over mattes. I do like some good mattes, but this is a very matte heavy palette, which I know a lot of people love, but I don't feel like I need all of these tones of the same shade. I think that's just where I'm falling behind with this palette. Okay, next up, we've got my avocado toast. So this one's a little bit of a sad one. So this is BH Cosmetics, and I lusted over this one for so long. I really, really enjoyed it. I've done some really pretty looks with it, but I think overall, I never think about this palette anymore. It's been a whole year, more than a year now that I have gone into this palette, and I still don't feel like going into it. And I think I probably shouldn't have purchased it, because I lusted over it for a good year before I bought it. And then once I had it, I was like, do I need this palette? Probably not, but I do have it in my collection. And I feel like if I didn't have it in my collection, I wouldn't really miss it. And I think, again, it's because I do have a lot of greens in my collection, and this one doesn't necessarily stand out. Now, while the quality is actually still good in this one, so my BH Cosmetics palettes, the quality has gone bad. This one is still good from what I know, but again, I haven't gone into it in over a year, so maybe it's not. Who knows? I need to go into it. I actually hopefully will go into it soon, but yeah, I don't know. This one, I just felt like I wouldn't miss it, so I had to put it in my last tier. Okay, then we have the Dangerous in Love from Makeup Revolution. So I've always said, oh, I like this palette, you know, it's nothing special, but I do like it. I like Batman, blah, blah, blah. But if I didn't have it in my collection, I don't think I would really miss it. So I feel like I should put this here anyway. I have enjoyed it. I do like that it's neutral, but it has some other, has some purples and some other shades in it. So while it's neutral, it's a little bit more interesting than Lunar Beauty one. So that's why I'm ranking it a little bit higher, even though the quality is not as good at all. I think overall, the color story is more interesting to me, so that's why I've ranked it a little bit higher in this tier, but still overall it's in the same tier. And yeah, I think it's just your typical Makeup Revolution quality. There's nothing bad about it, because if you know what to expect from them, then this is what you get. And actually, I haven't noticed any shades in here that have been horrendous. I feel like all the mattes perform really well. Does it add anything special to my collection? Probably not, so that's why it's in the bottom tier. I am ranking these within the tiers in order of how I like them as well, just if that wasn't clear. So that's also why this has been so difficult, because I can't just group them all together. I've had to rank within the different tiers, so super difficult. Okay, moving on, we have the NARS palette. This is the Stargaze palette. This one's upsetting to me because this was a gift. I actually requested this. My partner gave this to me, and I just thought, you know, that's so pretty. I already had a NARS palette. I was like, I want to try one of their holiday specials. I think this was the 2022 holiday special. And while it is very, very pretty, and you have that purple, and I think that's kind of special in itself, This is another palette that I tend to forget about. It is also pretty dark. So for me personally, I only ever really want to use it in the winter time. And I like to have palettes that yes, they can be seasonal, but I like palettes that I could still want to dip into throughout the year because then I can use them more and I have more enjoyment from them. If I have a palette where I only really want to use it in November, December time, it becomes a little limiting for me to have in my collection. And then I do tend to forget about it, ignore it completely. And then I have other palettes that maybe I want to go into in those months, and then it's neglected even further. So this is kind of what's happened with this one. I think the formula is fine. I have, like I said, I have 2 NARS palettes, and I do like the NARS formula. It's not this over-the-top shimmery indie quality whatsoever, but it actually is a really beautiful formula. I do enjoy that formula, but I think between this one and the other one, which I do have the other one ranked a little bit higher, this is my least favorite of the 2. And I don't think I would really miss this one if it wasn't in my collection. So I had to put it here. Okay, then we have the Juvia's Place. So I've always really enjoyed this, but I think at the end of the day, I'm getting tired of it. So maybe this is a little bit harsh of me to put it in my bottom tier. This is the Bronze Rustic. I used to have 2. I had the sort of the pinky blush one, and I never went into this one. I never went into that one, but I always went into this one, and I do like the formula. I kind of kept it for this shade. It's a red, but it's not a typical red. It's like a blood orange red. It's really, really fun. I think the shimmers and the mattes I can get in other palettes in my collection, but this shade in particular, there might be one other palette actually that I have now that kind of is the same. It's a very nice red, and I think I have a really good red in one of my Lethal Cosmetic palettes, which I will talk about. So potentially this has been dethroned because I only was keeping it for that shade, and I feel like I have another palette that I prefer overall that has a similar shade to this one. So would I miss this? Probably not. Okay, then I'm going to put my P. Louise here. This is absolutely enormous. If this wasn't so big, I would probably rate this a little bit higher, and I would probably go into it more. But because it's so enormous, I barely got into this because I don't know where to start. So this came in one of their budget boxes. I only tried 1 budget box from them, and I got this. So I was like, that's enough. I don't need any more. I have all of the shades that I could possibly need to make a neutral look. And obviously it has a lot of pinks and like maroony, plummy purples, and some really nice taupey shades as well. And I do think the formula is really pretty. I mean, I do have a pan in here, so I have gone into it a little bit, but really not as much as I would need to really know this palette. But at the same time, if I did not have this palette in my collection, I don't think I would miss it because I don't know it. I think that's the problem. I think I can see that the quality is really pretty, and there are some really gorgeous shades in here, and potentially I just need to depot the pretty shades and get rid of all the shades that I don't need, because there are so many browns over here. And I don't need any of them. I only need maybe 1. That's it. Okay, next up we have the Beauty Bay Midnight Palette. I have been quite vocal about this one not really needing to be in my collection at all. It's just far too big. I think the formula, obviously Beauty Bay, I really do like Beauty Bay formula, so I think the formula of all of these are really pretty, of the ones that I have gone into, but because it's so big, it's so monochromatic, there's just too many blues and purples in here that I personally just don't need. I did end up getting rid of some shades that were looking a little funny. They were making me nervous. I was like, no, I'm gonna get rid of those. I'm gonna rank this one here because I'm ranking it higher than all of the rest because I do really like the formula of Beauty Bay. I just think this is a huge palette. It's a huge palette. And it's my fault. I kind of asked for this a couple years ago, thinking, oh, I want to get one of the 42-pound palettes. So I got it as a gift, and yeah, I shouldn't have asked for it. And then the last palette in this tier is actually my Summer in St Tropez. This just makes me sad because overall this would probably end up in my tier 3 at least, but I'm gonna put it in my tier 4 pile because the formula is going. So like I said, some of my BH Cosmetics palettes, the formula has been going. This is one of my older ones, so it doesn't, it doesn't surprise me that it's going. I honestly would be sad for this one to go because of this coastline? Yeah, coastline shade I think is so beautiful. Is it special anymore in my collection? I don't know. I mean, let me swatch. It's just really beautiful. It has that flip of green, and I do generally really like it. I do think it's a very stunning shade, but I think all these mattes, to be fair, maybe aside from the yellow, I have in my collection. And I actually have this one on my eyes today. Anyway, so I do like this palette still, and I really overall like the, I liked the formula of BH Cosmetics, but I do think that it's getting a little too old now for me to use. I think maybe aside from this shade, I would probably not miss this palette anymore. Okay, we are now moving in to my tier 3. So as a reminder, tier 3 are palettes that I do like, but I don't think that they're special, if that makes sense. So I like them, but I probably have other palettes that I like better. I mean, I do have other palettes that I like better. That's the whole point of this video, Gabby. Yes, I know that. But I just don't think, I think they could be replaced, if that's what I mean. They are replaceable, unfortunately. Okay, so the first one here is gonna be the Aurora Struck from ColourPop. I definitely went into this quite a lot at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, and put a lot of time into getting to know this palette a little bit more, because this is another big palette. This is another palette that obviously I have not taken out of the original packaging, but I can probably see myself doing that because a lot of these dark tones down here are shades that I'm probably not going to want to keep. A lot of these dark shimmers are just not the type that I really like. So generally I do like the first 2 rows. Or maybe the first 3 rows, and then these bottom 2 rows are a little bit too dark for me. So overall, it's not a perfect palette, but there are some really gorgeous shades. Like I really love the blue, the green here. I love this shade, and I hit pan in it in my Pan-Those eyeshadows. Some of these shimmers are really pretty. And so overall, I do like some of the shades that I've used in here, but there are still some shades that I haven't touched whatsoever because it's just simply a little bit too big for me. So yeah, this one's gonna be the bottom of tier 3. Next up, I'm gonna put my Nouveau from ABH here. Now, I really love this palette when I first got it, but I do think that the overall quality of this is not lasting, and I have older ABH palettes from their older sort of packaging that last much longer than this and still perform really beautifully. I feel like this one is just not performing the way that it used to, and it's not looking as pretty, especially the shimmers. I don't think the shimmers are as pretty as they used to be. Whether that is the case or it's my taste that has changed, who knows? But this one I'm going to put here, sadly, I think I would have overall ranked it higher had I felt that the formula was holding up, but I don't think it is. There are still some pretty pops of color. I mean, obviously the Wisteria shade is really fun, and I have always liked the Isle shade and Hope, but there's a few duds. I feel like this is such a dark shimmer, and it's very, it like gets all over the face. It's almost black. It's got a huge black base to it, and it's just too much for my liking. So sadly, this one's gonna go here. I do have my Hocus Pocus 2 from ColourPop here. I do like this palette. So when I say that tier 3 are palettes that I like, I do like these palettes, but obviously they are here for a reason, right? So this one, I've always found really, really fun, but I think lately I've realized I haven't really been going into it that much. I really like these browns over here, and I think this palette is actually really fun for the springtime. So maybe hopefully I can pull it for spring. I have actually no issues with any of the shades in this palette. I've always really, really enjoyed it, but I don't feel like I can put it in my tier 2. And I think overall, I like the other palettes a little bit better that I have ranked in front of me. Although now I'm thinking like, maybe I should put this a little bit higher. I don't know. That's why this is so hard. I have nothing bad to say about this palette, but you know, it is more of a Halloween palette. But again, I can use it for spring, but do I use it for spring all that much? Probably not. So it's one of these unique palettes that I don't want to get rid of, but it's not that special. Okay, next up I've got my MAC. This is the Star Setting Compact in the shade Fuchsia. This was a holiday special. This is nice formula. This is super, super old. Still works fine for me. Obviously I have a couple of pans in here. It's a really nice travel palette too, and it works fine for me, but I can't rank it any higher because it's such a small little palette. So that's where I'm putting it. All right, then we have my another NARS palette. This is the Afterglow. I've always really liked this, but I think I've always said I like this because of one shade. I really like this shade, which is called Push It. I think it's always been so pretty to me. And is it still pretty? Yeah, I think it is. Because you know what? It's like this gold, but it has this like peachiness to it. I don't know if it's gonna show up, but it's so pretty. Oh yeah, it's like a pinky peachiness with some gold. And I think it actually is really, really pretty. Like I said, it's very pretty. I'm gonna say it again, it's very pretty. The rest of the palette I really enjoyed too. It's my first NARS palette that I picked up. I did not buy it full price. I did get a sale on it. And generally I do like the quality and the formula of this, and it's held up. It's definitely the oldest palette in my collection, I think right now, out of everything I have. It is the oldest palette, maybe by a few months, or the second oldest, one of the two. Definitely I bought this a long time ago. And it still holds up fine. I've never had any issues with it, and it is pretty. But I think overall, comparing the quality to some other quality that I enjoy more and other color stories that I enjoy more, I'm still ranking it here because I think it's just really the one shade that I would miss. I think the rest of them are not as special as I would want them to be. All right, then we have the Makeup Factory. This one is a newer one. This is the gold selection, and this just rolled into my Pan Those eyeshadows. The only reason I'm ranking it in my tier 3 is because it's just overall just a neutral palette. I do think the quality is a little bit nicer than the NARS Afterglow at this point, but obviously it is newer, so that could be a factor as well. There's nothing to say about this. It is very, very pretty. It's a very pretty, it's like the formula is like chunky. I like these shades. They are chunky, thick, gorgeous shimmers. I do like it. And overall, it's just a beautiful travel palette if you are traveling and you want a nice little compact to do your everyday makeup in. I think it's perfect for that. And that's kind of why I bought it, because obviously I'm traveling around the world. No, I'm not, but hopefully I'm gonna be traveling a little bit this year. And this is not like a fun palette, but it is a really good palette for traveling. So anyway, I wanted to rank it here, but is it special enough to be in my tier 2 or 1? Absolutely not. Okay, this might surprise some people, and it did surprise me, but I don't think I like this palette as much as I thought I did. So I'm gonna put the What's Up Beauty Dragon's Eye here. So this one is beautiful, and obviously it was what, released last year or the end of the previous year. I can't remember anymore. My timings are all off, but I did buy this myself and I thought this was absolutely stunning. And I still agree that this is stunning, but it's not a palette that I run back to and I want to go into all the time. And I don't know why. Like I do like these shades. I do think they're pretty. Yeah, these are pretty shades. And it's just, they're very, very pretty. I don't want to put you off What's Up Beauty because I really do like the brand. But I think overall for me, oh my God, this is so gorgeous. It's like a purple to green. It is absolutely stunning, this palette. But having said that, I think the problem that I have with this palette is contrast. I find it very mid-tone. I don't know if it's going to be as noticeable just by looking at it, but I do find that I lack light shades in this palette. I think everything, even the shimmers, maybe aside from Fly is really the only bright one, and that's one that I've hit pan in. I do find them to be a little too dark to do like an everyday look for myself. I do find myself going into this palette and then wanting to go into a different palette for a bit of brightness. And that is my only criticism and really the why that I have it in my tier 3. And I kind of realized that as I was putting all these together. I didn't really want to put it in my tier 2 because I just felt like it didn't deserve to be there because I do have this kind of issue with it. And yeah, it's just a little dark in some places, and I would like to have a little bit more light. Obviously this brush shade is really pretty, but maybe I just wanted a lighter shimmer that didn't flip green, because this obviously flips green. So, okay, we are not even halfway through, so grab a drink. All right, so then I'm gonna put my Glam Shop. This is the, this one. I do like this, but because it's monochromatic, I didn't want to bump it up to the next tier. But I do really like these shades. And honestly, you know, I bought it knowing it was going to be monochromatic. So I can't be like, oh, it's monochromatic, I didn't like it, you know. So it is actually stunning. And this is another brand that I wouldn't want to sway anyone off of because I do like Glam Shop. I think they do some really pretty shimmer shades. And if you're not going to buy their palettes, Yeah, I didn't really swatch very well there. If you're not going to buy their palettes, then you can obviously buy like their singles and stuff. And I have recently tried more of their actual like face makeup, and I enjoyed pretty much everything that I tried from them. And so I do like this brand, and I like that they're obviously in Poland, and I'm just supporting a different, you know, a different type of brand other than like a mainstream makeup brand. But I can't really rate this any higher because it is what it is. It's a very green leaning palette with some mustards and so a little bit of flips, but you know, it is nice for what it is when you want this type of look. But I also found myself using this more as a companion palette when I had it in my Shop My Stash. Okay, we have a whole other pile for my tier 3s. Okay. Next up, we've got the Cosmic Beauty Neutrals. This is actually a newer palette for me, but I did do a 3 looks 1 palette video with this, and I did realize that this palette has a lot of mid-tone, warm tone shades in it. So that is fine if that's what you're going for, but I feel like I lacked a variety. Like when I look at this palette, I feel like there is a lot of variety. So having said that, I was a little surprised that I was feeling this way when I did my 3 looks. I felt like I was doing the same look, and I didn't feel like it was all that different. Even when I went into the purples, I didn't really enjoy how they looked on my eyelids. So I don't think this is the perfect palette from them. I do prefer their other palettes. This is the first one that I'm ranking, obviously, in the video. And I do have 3 other palettes from them at this point. No, 4 other palettes from them. I have a lot of palettes from them. I do think individually, some of these shades are absolutely stunning, and I really like these shades over here, and this is really pretty, and some of these are very, very pretty. Some of these are very, very, very pretty. But overall, as a complete palette, I think it could have been condensed down maybe to a 12-pound palette, and I would have been happier. I didn't really need another black as well. So I've already mentioned this multiple times in my videos, but it's just not like a perfect palette from them. I think quality-wise it is, but tone-wise and how many shades are in there, it doesn't speak to me. Okay, then we have my BH Cosmetic Blueberry Muffin. I wasn't sure where to put this, but I do think overall this serves me more of a purpose than the Avocado Toast one, whereas I bought them both at the same time because I was lusting over both of them. And I think this one, while it is pretty, it is much more of a companion palette. So again, it's in my tier 3 because it's not a palette that I grab and I do like a look with. I grab for 1 or 2 different shades in here, and then I will go back to a different palette. So it's not one that I think about all that much, but whenever I do go into it, I do really like the shades. And I have noticed that I really like Periwinkle. I like Periwinkle on my eyes. It's got some periwinkle to it. It's also got this beautiful yummy shade that I've always really enjoyed. So this one I wanted to rank obviously higher than a tier 1, like the Avocado Toast, but it's not quite a tier 2. Okay, then we've got my Menagerie Feral palette. This one, I love Menagerie Cosmetics, and I do think, I've said this multiple times, they have one of, if not the best eyeshadow formula that I've ever tried, but their color stories are not perfect for me, and that is the problem with this one specifically. I have 2, the other one I'm ranking a little bit higher. This one, I think it's very fun. Like if you look at it, it's actually really fun palette, but I think I have a problem with these shades here. They're just a little too dark, and I really was hoping that maybe this one was going to be a little bit brighter. There isn't a bright shimmer in here, so this is another palette where when I go into it, I really feel like I'm lacking some definition and different tones. Everything is very mid-tone, aside obviously you got a bright yellow. It's really fun. I mean, this is very contrasting, but I'm missing a light matte or a light shimmer. I would just really love that, and it's not be colorful, you know? I need something to work with, something to brighten my inner corner, and I don't want to just put green. So I think that the problem that I faced with this one is not the quality, absolutely outstanding quality. And I've had this for a couple of years now. I've never had any issues with mold or anything like that. I'm just letting you know, like I've never had issues with this formula whatsoever, and I think the mattes are beautiful and buttery. Like I have nothing bad to say about the brand itself other than the color story. Okay, then I'm going to put my Natasha Denona here. This is the only Natasha Denona palette that I have. It's the retro palette. This one I do enjoy. I really like her cream to powder shades. So I hit pan in this one, and then this one I really enjoy too. And then obviously you've got Rebellion in here. You've got quite a few. Actually, no, do you only have 3? Maybe you only have 3 in this one. No, you got Go-Go as well. I do like that formula of her. I think that the mattes work fine, and I think the shimmers are fine. Like, I have no issues with this, but it is very monochromatic. It's also leans obviously very blush, rose, pink, and like I said at the beginning when I was talking about another palette, the Nabla Dreamy, I'm not into those tones at the moment, so I think that's probably why I'm ranking this lower. And honestly, don't really have anything else to say about it. I think it's fine. Have I bought anything else from Natasha Denona? No, I think that's just because it's just too expensive for what you get. I'm very pleased that I have this palette and I do enjoy it, but it's never been a favorite. It will never be a favorite unless I absolutely fall in love with these tones again, which I might do because I do change every year. Okay, then we have the Peach Perfect from Gourmand Girls. So this one I find quite limiting in terms of color story. I think the formula is really beautiful, and I have been dipping into it a little bit more recently because I pulled it from like my spring palettes and I've been using it here and there, and I just rolled this shade into my Pan Those eyeshadows, so I will be using it a little bit more. So individually, some of these shades are really, really pretty. When I do go into here, I think I do struggle to put a look together, even though I picked this up because I was like, I love that color story, that's me, that's me. I'm realizing it's not me. It might not be me. Maybe I'm changed. But I do find it a little bit tricky to go into here. I also find that there's a lot of green mattes, and I was hoping for maybe one other green shimmer. This is really the only one that you can use that really pops, and I was hoping that, like, I didn't realize when I bought it that there wasn't another one. Like, I feel like this one could have been different. I don't feel like we need the shade because we already have like one over here that's very similar in terms of tone. This one's a tiny bit lighter. So I don't think overall it's the perfect color story, but I do think the shades individually are very fun and pretty, but I can't really rank it any higher. Okay, then we have my Beauty Bay Earthy palette. This one I really do enjoy, even though I got pretty sick of it when I had it in my Pan That palette in order. I was just struggling. It's just a massive palette, so it's my fault. But I think the color story in here, I love that you have the neutrals, the reds with the green, and as opposed to the Midnight palette, which is basically just purple and blue, this one is, you have much more variety in here. You can go in here and just do a neutral look if you wanted to, or you could just do a green look. You could do both. You could just do a really red one. Like, there's a lot more variety in here, and that's kind of what you want with a 42-pound palette. So obviously I'm going to rate this higher than the Midnight palette, but I think overall it's still far too big. And there are shades in here that I do not need. But like I said, when I'm looking at other palettes that have green shades, and I say, I already have green shades in my collection, I already have them. And I have other palettes with green in them too. So I have a lot of green, and it's not my favorite color to wear. I don't even know what my favorite color to wear is, but I have to be in a green look. So, but there are some gorgeous shades. Like, I've always really loved the shade Ray, and I've actually always wanted to hit pan in it, but I've never hit pan in it because I haven't like forced myself to, or not forced myself, but I guess allow myself to. I really like this. It's gorgeous, right? It kind of reminds me of the Coastline shade from the Summer in St Tropez from BH Cosmetic. So again, I wouldn't really miss that shade because I have it in this one. Okay, then I'm gonna put the Lovers from Cosmic Beauty here. I don't think I can rank this any higher because I generally don't feel like I know this palette enough. I have gone into it and done 2 different looks, and I have a video on it, but I think I need to play with it a little bit more because I do feel a little bit limited with my knowledge on this palette. Like, I haven't even gone into this section up here, and I haven't touched these down here. So I really only touched these and these. So there's about half the palette that I haven't touched. I think the formula is really pretty from what I have tried, and I actually have just rolled this into my Pan Those eyeshadows, so I will be going into this a little bit more and hopefully do some more beautiful looks with this. But I do think that I prefer this one to the other palette that I ranked, the neutrals, because I think there's a lot more variety in this one. I just need to play around with it a little bit more. It could definitely be one that grows on me. So while it is in my tier 3, if I do this a year from now and I still have this palette in my collection, it could very well be a favorite palette. I just haven't had it enough to rate it higher. All right, then I'm gonna rate this one here, the Revolution Astro Nova. I just posted a video doing 3 different looks with this one. Now, I wasn't overly amazed with the quality, but I wasn't that disappointed with the quality. It's just what you kind of would expect from Makeup Revolution. What I will say is I really love this color story, and I love that you can do multiple different looks, and there's just so much variety, and it's just kind of a fun palette, to be fair. So I had a lot of fun doing that video because I didn't find myself getting bored going into this palette. So the reason I'm rating it quite a bit higher than all the rest of the ones in this tier is simply just because of the color story and how much fun I had. Had I not done that video just recently, this might have been ranked way lower, but because it's so fresh in my mind and I had a lot of fun doing it, I have to rank it here. Okay, next up we've got the ABH Jackie Aina. This is another fall from grace for no reason other than the fact that I do think that I have other palettes in my collection that I prefer better. Now when I talk about ABH formula lasting in my older palettes, this is my oldest palette in my collection, this one. And the formula is still as good as the day that I bought it. It is so stunning. I don't know what they did with this, but it's never gone bad. And even the mattes are not super powdery like all of the other ABH. Like, this is just beautiful, stunning formula, and I'm so happy that I still have it in my collection. I still really, really enjoy this palette, but I've always really enjoyed this and not so much the purples and the pink. And to be fair, this is a very dark palette. And so this is another one that I really only want to use in the wintertime. I've just realized over time what looks I want to do throughout the year, and this is just not a palette that I want to use all year long. So I can't really rate it as one of my top favorite palettes anymore, because those ones are going to be ones that I could wear throughout the year. And this one I just don't feel like I can or want to, so that's why it's rated here. And I do feel like I can get this elsewhere. Like tier 3 are palettes that I really like, but I can replace them. And sadly, I could replace this in terms of like having other shades in other palettes. The palette itself, obviously you can't. You can't buy this anywhere, so it is irreplaceable in that respect, but it's not so special that I can't find those shades elsewhere, if that makes sense. Okay, next up we've got the Let's Get Nude from Gloss Gods. This one I potentially would have ranked higher had I not had some issue with the mattes. I think overall the mattes have grown on me in this palette, but I don't think they're the best mattes that you can get from Gloss Gods. I think the shimmers are really pretty though. Obviously I have a pan in this one, so I've spent some time on this palette quite a bit, and I do, yeah, actually the shimmers are gorgeous in this palette. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. I think you can still buy this too, or maybe it's discontinued. I don't know. I think you might be able to still buy this. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. But I think overall, I do find this palette to be very mid-tone again. So that, you know, there is this light shade here, and obviously there's light matte, but this doesn't really show up. And you have another light matte here. This kind of shows up. But the shimmer-wise, they're all kind of very mid-tone, and I think it would have been nice to have another brighter color and maybe not have this one, because this is Nude or Never, the shade, and it is a dark satiny shimmer, which I don't like. So I really wish that they didn't have that one and maybe put something else. So it's not a perfect palette by any means. Okay, then we're gonna have the Molten Metals. I have ranked this a little bit higher than that one because I think as an overall palette, if you are going for a neutral look and you want some sparkle and you want your really beautiful metallics, I think this is a really good palette to have. I think overall for me, it's not super special that I can put it in my tier 2 and tier 1. Absolutely not. I was disappointed in this palette. I still am. I still expected one of these shades to be a duochrome or some sort of special flip. None of them flip, which is absolutely fine if you don't want that to happen in your eyeshadow, but I was expecting it. So when it didn't happen, I was like, huh, okay, fine. I do think overall though, the palette is really pretty and the mattes in here are really, really good. So anytime I've said, oh, the mattes are not very good in Gloss Gods, this one, I think they're very good. All right, then we're gonna put another Gloss Gods. This is the What's Your Power? This was my project level up for ages, and so I know this one very, very well. This is a really fun palette, but it's not a palette that I can use in my everyday. It's more of a companion palette, so I think that's why I struggled so much when it was in my project level up. It was my level 5, so I had to get 5 pans, which I do have, but it took me like 7 months or something like that. It took a really long time because I wasn't going into it all the time. It was just these pops of color that I had to go into. I would say the mattes take a really long time to hit pan on. Try to hit pan on a Gloss God matte and you let me know how long it takes you. It takes me a long time. The shimmers don't take me very long at all. The shimmers are really pretty. I think individually, like as a companion palette, this is really, really fun. Like these shimmers are absolutely stunning and to die for, but I can't really rate this any higher. Like I probably would miss this palette. I would miss this palette. I mean, come on, let's get real. I would miss this palette, but is it a standout tier 2 palette for me? No, I don't think it is because I do think I prefer the other ones better. And also just the fact that I can't just take this with me traveling. It's just not, it's like more of a companion palette. It really is. So I have to rank it here. All right, and then the last palette that I have in my tier 3 is one of my Pan That palettes. Can you believe it? It's the Naughty Nude. Now, I would have ranked this probably in my tier 2 had the formula lasted. The formula is really going in this palette. I'm not going to show you because my Pan That palette update will be next week and I do not want to spoil it. But just trust me when I say some of these shades do not perform very well anymore. And that's why I wanted it in my Pan That palette. I wanted to get as much use of it as possible before I have to declutter it. Obviously, it's a pricier palette. It's Huda Beauty. So I wanted to, just spend some time enjoying it as much as possible before I had to let it go and not feel bad about letting it go. So I'm really glad that you guys picked this for my Pan That palette because I have been really enjoying it. I honestly have. I don't go into it all the time, obviously, because I'm doing a lot of different looks, but I'm enjoying it for what it is. But however, I just can't rate it any higher. Even when it had like the newest quality in there, I always found that there are a lot of shades that are very similar to each other. So I think they could have condensed this down or they could have added a little bit more contrast because I do find this palette very monochromatic and also very mid-tone. So there are always like issues with these palettes. But yeah, this is the last one in my tier 3. Okay, we have made it to my tier 2. I think we're in the midway point. I'm sorry this video is so long. I have too many, far too many. But these palettes I love. I love these palettes and to be fair, I've just swapped over some of them. So some of them were in my tier 1 and I've just moved them to tier 2. Some of them were in tier 2 and I've just moved them to tier 1. So there's a few that interchange here. So, you know, it's kind of a fluid thing. Some days change, okay? So I love these. I would be very sad if I lost any of these. Like these wouldn't be replaceable. Let's just put it that way. But they're not my tier 1s. And my tier 1s, again, it's been very difficult to do that. So let's just start. I do love these palettes, but then now I'm thinking some of them could have my tier 3. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this first one is like right on the cusp. I think it could potentially be in my tier 3. It is the Muse from Cosmic Beauty. I think the reason why I put it in my tier 2 is because the formula in this is really, really beautiful. But I do have issues with it, whereas like I had issues with some of the other ones in my tier 3. I do think this is kind of a dark color story. So it's only one time of the year that I want to go into this palette. However, I really do think some of these shades are gorgeous. And so I can't help looking at this palette and being like, no, this is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. And unlike the neutrals, I find this palette to be very interesting. You can do multiple different looks with it, but also it is kind of dark. So maybe this should have been in my tier 3. Again, very, very difficult to say. Very difficult to say. As we get further into my tier 2s, I think it becomes more evident, but yeah, these ones in the bottom of tier 2 could have been in tier 3 probably. Then we have the Color of Rain from Gloss Gods. Now this is an all shimmer palette with a black matte. I find this to be really fun, but it is more of a companion palette. I did do 3 looks 1 palette with this and I used the black matte in every single look because I was like, well, why not? And I had a lot of fun with that video, but overall this is a companion palette and I don't, it just can't be a tier 1. It can't be a tier 1, but I love this. Like I love these palettes and whether it be Color Story or not or something else, I think the Color Story is really fun in this one. These all have special flips to them. Again, they're all kind of bluey purple, which is what you would expect. So yeah, gorgeous. And then I'll go into this one because it's a little bit more different. Oh, I mean, how could you not? How could you not? Oh my gosh, how could you not? Look at that. Oh my goodness. How could you not? I'm sorry. I'm not yelling. I'm not yelling at you specifically, but how could you not buy this? Okay, anyway, I do actually, I'll put this out there because I know I mentioned it before. I do have a link for Gloss God, so if you do buy from them and you follow my link, I get a little bit of kickback, and I do think you'll get a 10% discount off of your order too. So I'll have that linked in my description if you do want to buy anything from Gloss Gods. You use my link. Obviously, thank you so much. You do not have to though. Just a little, you know, selling myself a little bit here. All right, then we have the new neutrals from Gloss Gods. This one I really enjoy. It's actually a second purchase of mine. I gave the original to my mother, and then I found out recently she doesn't even use it. So there's like this new neutrals palette sitting in England she doesn't even use. And this is the second one that I bought because I missed it so much, I bought it again. This one, I would say I have not gone into as much as I would really like to. I really think this is beautiful. This is neutrals with a twist. And I just think this is so, oh my God. God. I had to swatch. I'm not going to swatch everything, but come on. Look at this one. Oh my goodness. It's neutrals with a twist. Oh, that is so chunky. Oh my goodness. And smooth. So chunky and smooth. Wow. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. This video is going to take me forever. But anyway, really, really love this. And yeah, this is just such a special palette, but I haven't gone into it nearly enough. So I think that's probably why I'm ranking it a little bit lower than it should be. I do have a video on this one too when I first got it, the original, if you can always go check it out, but yeah. Okay, then we have the first of my Lethal Cosmetics Avatar collection. I did pick up 4 of these. This one initially was my favorite, so this has definitely changed over time. I really haven't gone into this one very much. I did go into it today actually for my red on my eyes, but this one is so much fun. It's so vibrant, and I really, really love the formula of all of these. Like I said, when I initially got all 4 of them, this actually was one of my favorites, but now it's my least favorite out of the 4. But I think it's because I haven't gone into it as much as some of the others. So if I keep going into this one, then I'll just love all of them. But this very much is a tier 2. I do not want to lose any of my Lethal Cosmetic ones. I think they're absolutely stunning. If you haven't tried the Avatar collection, I think you can still get it. Absolutely recommend, 100% recommend, 100% recommend. Okay, then we have my What's Up Beauty Geode. So I obviously already spoken about the other 2. This is the last one that I got in my bundle, and this is my favorite out of the 3. I do think it's my favorite because it's the one that has the lightest shades in it. So when I was talking about the Dragon's Eye not having a light shimmers or anything to work with, I think I was just missing this. So I think when you pair the 2 together, like I think that's not gonna work. Okay, so if you pair these 2 together, I think you get the perfect palette. I'm probably blinding you quite a bit, but yeah, I think you get the perfect palette when you pair them together. I generally have really liked the mattes in here too. I went into them recently and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the shimmers are really gorgeous. And I think overall, out of the palettes that I saw from them, this was always one that, you know, sparked joy when I was looking at them. Before I tried What's Up Beauty, I always thought, oh, that's a gorgeous palette. I really want that palette. So I think overall it's the color story, because I don't mind the formula in the other 2. It's just I prefer this color story way too much. Okay, then we have Singe Beauty. This is the Galactic Visitor, and this one I bought on release during Black Friday, but I only got it in January, so it's still for me a very new palette, and I do want to do maybe like a 3 looks 1 palette with this one, because every time I've gone into this I have enjoyed it. I think the quality is really, really good, and I kind of want to showcase it a little bit more. It's not my typical color story that I would just run out and buy, but I have loved it. I have. So I kind of want to play with it a little bit more. And I think the reason why it's ranked here is because I haven't played with every single shade, and also maybe because it's not my typical like color story that I would run towards. But I can't deny that I love the formula, and every look that I've created with this, whether it be a full look with just this palette or I've gone into this palette to create it with a different look like a companion palette, I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm very excited what she does next. Okay, then we have my other Menagerie Cosmetics. This is the only other one that I have. This is the Killer Purr. I have always loved this one. I think this one, in terms of color story, has always been far more interesting to me than the Feral. You can just tell it's lighter, and I just find a little bit more fun with this one. I also love this shade. I had it in my Pan Those eyeshadows, and I had so much fun with it. I really love some of these shades too. I don't know. I mean, I probably could have ranked this a little bit higher if I'm honest, but again, this is just a hard ranking for me. So those 3 shades right there, I do think the quality and the formula of Menagerie is really pretty. And I think overall, this is a really good late spring summer palette for me. So it's not a typical palette that I would want to go into all year round. And that's probably why it's not ranked a little bit higher. There also is quite a bit of this teal green in here. Like there's 3 different greens that are all kind of the same. And so I probably would have preferred one of these to be different. Like they are different, but they're not different enough to warrant them being in here. And it would have been nice maybe to have like a bright yellow. That would have been really fun because then you can like really pair with this yellow. I know that they've done it for the contrast, but we already have one of them. I don't feel like we needed 2. So again, not perfect color story, but I do prefer this a lot more than the Feral. Okay, then we have another gloss, guys. This is the Gal on the Moon. And this one, another all shimmer palette. There's no mattes in here. I have not played around with this enough, but every time I've gone into it, I've always felt like the shades are absolutely stunning. So this one recently I went into for, what was it? A look that I was doing. Oh yeah, I was doing the spring makeup trend looks and I went into this shade. It's absolutely beautiful. And yeah, some of these I've only swatched, so I really need to go into this palette a little bit more. They had discontinued it for the longest time and then they finally brought it back in stock. Look at that. This is the shade that I went into in the look when I did my spring favorite. So if you want to, not spring favorite, spring trends. So if you want to look at that. Oh my gosh, absolutely stunning. And I love that the shade, they're all different. They all flip differently. So that's really exciting to me. Because if you have an all shimmer palette and they all flip different, you know, if they all flip kind of the same, it's a little bit less interesting. So honestly, this probably could have been ranked a little bit higher, but because I haven't used all of the shades in looks yet, I don't feel like I can. Even I can swatch them, but I have not played around with it nearly enough. So I can't really rank it any higher, but I can't put it any lower. So, okay, next up, we've got the Gal on Mars. This one, very similar to the other one. I haven't gone into all the shades, and honestly, I might prefer the Gal on the Moon over this one, but it's hard to say. So they're kind of on par with each other. Again, some of these shades are really beautiful, but I haven't gone into all of them. So how could I tell you about them? But this one is very warm tone, obviously. Very, very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. And you can see some of their shimmers are chunkier than others, and you can clearly see some of those duochromes there. And this is like a true just red metallic. Again, I went into this shade for my spring video, but yeah, so pretty and so different, and I like that. I like when there's a variety. So I just said it, I'm repeating myself. So yeah, this is another one that they had discontinued for the longest time. So they actually brought these 2 back in December, and I was like, I have to buy them. I had to buy them because I was just like wanting them. I wanted to complete my collection, so I'm so happy that I have them. Okay, then we have the Artemis from Alter Ego. I really like this palette. This obviously is a dupe for Natasha Denona Metropolis. I'm not gonna, you know, I wouldn't, even if I could have bought that, I was not gonna spend that much money. So I was so happy to have found Alter Ego. And I know a lot of people don't like dupe brands and whatnot, but I do really like Alter Ego quality. I will say that their cream to powder shades are nothing like Natasha Denona's. Natasha Denona does way better cream to powder, but they do try to do it in their palettes and it's fine. But I really love the color story. I can't really give them credit for the color story because it's very massively heavily inspired by her color story, but I do like the shimmer quality and I like the matte quality. I like the quality of Alter Ego. So whatever, it is what it is. And I've had a lot of fun with this. It's been on my Project Level Up before. I've spent a lot of time getting to know it. So I feel like I know this really, really well. What I will say is there are a lot of redundant shades in here. There's a lot of mid-tone shades in here. So it does get a little repetitive and a little boring at times. So when I did my Project Level Up, I was getting a little tired of going into the same sort of grungy, I don't know, maybe green or the pops of orangey yellow or browns. They did end up being very similar to each other, but there are some like standout shades. I think this Pounce was quite a surprise to me. There definitely are some standout shades. I really prefer this side of the color story as well, but yeah, I really know this palette very well. All right, moving on, we have the Sample Beauty. This is the Equalizer Volume 2. It's the only Sample Beauty I've ever tried and owned in my collection. And again, this is another one where I have had it in a project level up, so I feel like I know it pretty decently well. So I have quite a lot of pans in here. It's been my Pandas eyeshadows. I think overall, like the top part of the palette is more interesting to me, and also where the shimmers are. This kind of gets lost to me because I think, again, this palette could have been condensed down and it would have probably been perfect had they maybe removed 2 rows or 3 rows. Maybe 2 or 3 rows, yeah. And I think it would have been perfect for me personally, but I get why they have the gradients, you know, it's aesthetically pleasing and whatnot. But I do think the first 2 rows are very interesting, and then all these shimmers. I think the quality is really pretty in here. You have some really gorgeous shades. So I'll just swatch a few of them. And I think you could do some really pretty, like, everyday neutral looks with this, but also, you know, make it fun. And that's what I like. There, I'll just show you. They didn't swatch too well, but it's still pretty. Okay, then we have another glam shop. This is the Sorbetti. And this one looks like this. This one is fun. You have some really nice pops of color. I like that it's more shimmer heavy because I feel like that's where they shine. Their mattes are absolutely fine, but honestly, I'm buying it for their shimmers. I'm not buying it for their mattes. So for me personally, I don't really care about the mattes in these palettes, but I like that they're there. Like, look at this. This is beautiful. Ah, stunning. Like, those are some gorgeous shades. What I will say about this palette and why I'm not ranking it a little bit higher, I don't know if it's going to be super noticeable, but a lot of their shimmers lean purple. And that is something that happens in the other palette that I'll show from them as well. Like, whereas obviously you have a blue, you have a pink, and you have a purple there, a lot of the time, the little bit of the flip still flips a little icy purple. So it kind of, sometimes you can end up having a similar look depending on what you choose, but also I guess it also depends on which matte you lay it down on. But I will say that about it. So, okay, then we have this one. This is the Serenity. I feel like this one should be bumped up higher, but I don't know. I really like this palette, but it's a little bit tricky because I'm actually working on it right now. So this is what it looks like. This is such a gorgeous color story. This is very, very fun, but I also haven't played around with it nearly as much, and I do plan to do that because I want to use it for spring. So that's why I'm putting it here. I think the formula of all these are really, really stunning and beautiful, and I really like the pops of green, and like this is a very dark palette, but then you have some pastel shades, which is really kind of exciting, and then you have this orange. I just find this very, very fun. Some people might look at this and be like, I don't know what to do with that color story, and I get you, but I do. I look at this and I find a lot of different looks with this. It excites me in this palette. So yeah, I think in retrospect, it might have been best to put this a little bit higher, but I put it here. Oh my God, I've been filming for over an hour and we're not done. How am I gonna do this? Okay, we have, the next one is the Club Nebula. This is from Kaleidos. I'm gonna lose my voice at the end of this. This is why I've been dreading this video. This one I love. This is the only Kaleidos palette that I have. Obviously, it was the Angie collab that she did quite a few years ago now. It was her first one, and I already was a fan of her, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pick that up. That's really fun. This is still currently in my project level up, so I am still trying to hit a couple new pans. Obviously, I'm showing it to you, but I haven't hit those pans, so yeah. Anyway, no spoiler here, but I really do like this. I think the formula has lasted the test of time as well. It's really, really lasted for me, and I do think it's a really pretty fun palette. There are some shades that I don't like as much as others, and I wish that they weren't in the palette. Like this one, for instance, I kind of realized that it really doesn't work well for me, but the rest of them I still think are really pretty. So that one I'm going to keep there. Then we have Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. This is a palette that I lusted over, and then when I bought it, I barely touched it, and I was just such an idiot about it because I was like, no, it's so pretty, I don't want to touch it. But no, I really like this palette, but I do think that in reality, I don't really like these two shades up here. So you have the Nebula, which is more of this, I don't know, it's like a chunky glitter shade. I think it's kind of glittery. And then I actually don't like Ultraviolet either because I don't think it does much. And then you have the Mercury shade. So you have these like darker shimmers. This one, while it is pretty, it is more of a glitter, so it's kind of gritty. They're not like my favorite, and I do like the rest of the palette though. So had it not had these and maybe something different, or they were better quality, in my mind, it would have been like a tier 1 palette for sure, because I've always loved this palette. It's always been ranked really, really high. But I think comparing it to other palettes, there is a little bit of negativity there. And I want to try to be fair in my ranking. So that's why I'm ranking it here. I just want to preface, because I might get some comments. This is my palette ranking. If I have put a palette that you really like at the bottom, please don't be mad at me. It is just personal preference. And if you like a palette that I don't like, I think that's good. Like you don't have to like the palettes that I like, and vice versa. So I just want to say that, because I think last time when I did a little bit of a palette ranking, I got a nasty comment and it was just so silly. And this is just makeup at the end of the day. So I just wanted to put that in here in case anyone's getting a little heated of where I'm putting palettes. Okay, next up we've got the Norvina from ABH. So this one has fallen a little bit from grace because it's getting just a little old. A couple years ago, I would have put this at the top for sure. I still really love this palette. It's got a lot of use on it. It's got a lot of pans in it. And I do find a pleasure going into it. But I think recently there were a few looks that I did with this palette and I wasn't able to, I had to wipe it off because it just didn't end up looking very pretty. So I think that it's not lasting very well, which is such a shame. So it might be just one that I end up having to maybe remove from my active inventory and just keep as a memory. I don't really have a drawer of memory because it's just makeup and I think that's a little bit silly, but maybe I will eventually. I don't know. This one originally I actually gifted to my mother and she didn't want it, so she gave it back to me. So I didn't start using it until she'd already used a little bit of it, but I've done most of the work. Yeah, this one's pretty, but most people have this palette or have known about it. And then I have the Urban Decay Stone Vibes. So again, I'm just gonna preface by saying this tier, I love these palettes, okay? I do love these palettes, just so you know. They're just not tier 1 palettes. So I do love this palette. Obviously, it was my Pan That palette last year. It was a reason why I wanted it to be one of the Pan That palettes, because I wanted to work on it. And this was gifted to me by my mother a few years ago. It was obviously a limited edition. I love the packaging. I thought it was just so unique and fun. And I've always loved this palette and going into it. So this is where it is. I think overall, if I compare some of these shimmers to other shimmers in my collection, they're not as good. So I think naturally I'm gonna put it here. It's probably a bit higher than it really in reality should be, but because I have a lot of sentimentality towards it, I'm ranking it here. Gosh, my headache is coming back. Please go away. Let's move on. We've got the Shadow Kiss Canyon. So this one, I actually had originally rated it super high and I thought, no, I'm being silly, because there is this one shade that I absolutely love in this palette. But overall, the palette I really enjoy. I had it in a Project Level Up a couple of years ago and I really got to know the palette. I got all the pans in there and it was like my level of 5. So I got to know it pretty well, but it is a very warm tone, mid-tone palette. And again, it's another Natasha Denona dupe. But I love this Desert Moon. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Is it special? Probably not, but it's just beautiful. Honestly, it doesn't look anything special while I'm swatching it to you, but it is so flattering. It is so flattering on the eyes. I've always really enjoyed it. So had they not have that shade in this palette probably ranked way lower, but they have that shade. So I'm like, I respect you. I love you. You're staying where you are. Okay, next up, we've got the Gal on Venus from Gloss Gods. This was a massive surprise to me. So I picked this up because I was like, why not? Let's complete the collection. And then I went into it and I was like, wow, because I actually was not going to buy this. I thought, oh, that's way too warm tone. I like warm tone, but not that much. I'm not really going to get much use out of this. And I find this so much fun. And they're just like bright yellow. I just think this is so cool. This is just such a cool palette. You got this bright orange. So if I want like these bright warm tone colors, I can. You've got the red. Like this is just like a fire. This is like a fiery inferno and you're about to go in a volcano. Like this is just amazing. I love it. And obviously it's the Gal on Venus and Venus is supposed to be very hot. So it makes sense. It makes sense. This is just beautiful. Let me swatch. We'll do some swatches. Oh my gosh. I'll swatch this normal shimmer. They do have a normal shimmer, which is that yellow. So I'll swatch it so I'm not just swatching like the special shades. But this is what it looks like. And then beautiful. I just think they're fun. They're just fun. This is a duochrome, but you can't really see it. I can see it. gorgeous. Okay, next up, I am going to put my Flower Moon from Ensley Rain here. Obviously, it's not really a brand that I want to be supporting very much at the moment, but I do love this palette and I have it in my collection. I bought it before everything happened, and so I want to be talking about it because obviously this is my palette ranking, so I'm going to be talking about all the palettes. This is beautiful. Like the quality of this is absolutely stunning. So if you have this in your collection, I would definitely recommend you using it. I want to use it a little bit more for the spring. So it's definitely for me a very spring palette. I think for most people it is too, but I can kind of see myself using it for like, I don't know, September because of the greens. I don't know. It's a very, very pretty palette. Okay, then we have the Moonshroom from Luna Beauty. I love this, and I think I'm putting it so high because of the color story. I love the pop of yellow, and honestly, in my collection, I don't really have that much yellow anymore. I used to have a lot of yellow, and most of my yellows came from Nomad Cosmetics, and I had to get rid of all of my Nomad palettes, sadly. So I don't have that many yellows anymore in my collection, but this is a really bright, fun yellow. It actually does serve a really nice purpose. You have some really pretty shimmers in here. They are not like your typical indie quality formula. While Luna Beauty is an indie brand, they're not like when you talk about like indie shades, they're not indie shades. They're much more like, they feel more like high-end mainstream makeup, and I think that's fun. Like that's fine for him. And I really like that he's done that, but they're not like pops in your face. So they're much more like wearable, which I think people appreciate. And I really do like, I like the color story. I really do. So that's why I'm ranking it so high. Okay, next up we have another Glam Shop. This is this one. I'm not going to try to say it because I know I always say it wrong, and I was corrected and I still can't remember how to say it. So this is how it looks. This one I think I prefer a little bit more than the other one, but they're all like, they're very similar, and they're also both in my tier 2. So I really do love both of them. This one, like the other one, a lot of these shades do flip quite icy purple, even though they kind of look a little bit different in the pan. This one's very interesting though, because it has like green, but then it's purple. So I will swatch that one. And we'll just do these maybe because they might be a little, you can see they're very icy purple. I don't mind it, but if you're not into your purples, it might be quite noticeable. You can see here, not that different. The flip is just a little different, right? Very pretty shades though, so I'm not going to fault them for that. Okay, then we have another one from Glam Shop. I love this one. This one has a lot more matte in it too, and it's laid out a little bit differently. It's a better like everyday palette, but with a twist, or just not even a twist, just a little bit something something, because these shimmers are really beautiful. These do not flip purple. Maybe one of them does. I think this one does for sure. But otherwise you can do a really nice like taupey brown look with this palette, and you do have some like normal shimmers over here, more satin-like. So this in itself is a really good like everyday palette that you can wear that is not going to be too over the top if you're worried about that. So it's like neutrals with a little bit of a twist, and that's why I like it, and I'm ranking it a little bit higher because I've always really enjoyed this palette. Okay, I only have 2 more of tier 2, and then we are going into my tier 1s. Okay, so next up we have another Avatar palette. This is the, what is this one? I forgot. Earth. This is the Earth one. This could have been in my tier 1. This could have been my tier 1. I'm just saying it right now. It might be in my tier 1, but I kind of bumped it down, but I probably shouldn't have. I love this one because it's not just a green palette. You look at it and you're like, oh, that's just a green palette. It's not. You can actually, like this is really special, this shade, and it just kind of unique because it's more like a brown and like taupey goldy shade. Oh, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. So you could do like a very neutral look with this. And I will tell you, these lethal palettes, the formula, best. Tell me that's not beautiful. Tell me that is not beautiful. How could you tell me that it is not beautiful? Look, this one flips pink in a green palette. Is that just not beautiful? It's beautiful. So yeah, this probably should be in my tier 1s. I think the reason I bumped it down was because as much as I think this is absolutely stunning, I haven't gone into it enough. And I want to go into it a little bit more, and then it probably will be a tier 1 palette, but definitely love it. That's why it's in tier 2. And then last one in my tier 2 is actually a ColourPop palette. This is the Haunted Mansion. I don't think I have talked about how much I love this palette enough. I think people don't realize that I actually generally love this palette. I think This has been such a surprising palette to me because I look at it, I'm like, well, it's just like a winter palette. That's a dark winter palette. And actually it kind of is. It is a dark winter palette, but I feel like every single shade in here was beautiful and stunning. And I had so much fun going into this over the winter that I'm finding myself missing it. It's very cool toned and it's just beautiful. I think the tones of these mattes are really fun. And I think unlike some other palettes, they're all different from each other. They all have a different depth to them and they all serve a different purpose. There's also really good contrast in this palette. So it's not all mid-tone, it's not all dark. There's a lot of dark shades, but there's a lot of light ones too. So there's so much contrast that I feel like it's very wearable for me to just go into this palette and not have to go into another palette. And that for me is perfect. Chef kiss. So this one also, as new as it is in my collection compared to a lot of other palettes I've had in my collection, this I had in my tier 1 and I bumped it down. But it could be a tier 1. I do love this palette and I think this is really good ColourPop formula, in my opinion. All right, we are in my tier 1. I have 9 palettes in this and then the video is done. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. All right, let's start with this one. This is my Cosmic Beauty Delicious Delights. I love this one so much. So obviously, just to remind you, tier 1 are palettes that I would be devastated if I didn't have my collection. So a lot of these tier 2 palettes, I actually would be devastated. So maybe more should have been my tier 1. This was just very hard. It was very hard. So anyway, back to Delicious Delights, if I can open it. This one is just so much fun. And I think maybe because I don't have rainbow palettes in my collection, as you've seen all my palettes, this is the most rainbow-y palette that I have in my collection. So for me, it's quite unique. If I had multiple rainbow palettes in my collection, would it be as unique? Probably not. But I really love these shades. I love how vibrant they are. They wear really well on the eyes. You also have a really gorgeous duochrome. Some of these shades are absolutely stunning. I like how it's been laid out too, but then you can jump around the different rows and it's still very fun and impactful. So I think this is standout, their best palette that I have in my collection, the best one that they've done. Obviously, I haven't tried every single palette that they've done, but I do think this is my favorite out of what I have. All right, then we have the Look for Rainbows from Gloss Gods. I almost had this in my tier 2, and then I was looking at my my stacks, my piles of palettes today, and I was like, how could I not put this in my tier 1? This has to be my tier 1. So this is currently my Pan That palette in order. I absolutely love this palette. It is obviously an all shimmer palette, so it is more of a companion palette, but I have tried to do a few looks with just going into this palette by using these 2 shades because they're kind of different. They are more of your, they do like shift. Oh my gosh, this one is so different. They are more of the, they're not like, they're definitely not as chunky as the others. And I feel like you can lay these down and then lay over maybe the purple, maybe not so much the green. I mean, they're very special though, those shades. Oh my gosh, what am I talking about? They're so special. But I feel like you could almost use them as your base, like your matte base, and then you can lay over any of these other ones on top of it if you had to, if you only had this palette. But no, it's a very much companion palette. It has always been one of my favorites from Gloss Gods. I think they still have it also on the website because I think it is one of their best sellers, and I know why. Next up, we've got the Dancing in the Sky. I always rate this super high. I wish I had more time to go into this palette. This one is never available whenever I go on their website, but then one of you did say that it was available a few months ago. You were able to grab it and then suddenly it was out of stock. So it's a very high in demand palette, so you have to be very quick whenever it comes back into stock. This is so beautiful. These shades are gorgeous, and again, it's an all shimmer palette. Not everyone wants an all shimmer palette, but I do find it very worth it when the shades are so beautiful. So oh, they're so creamy too. I don't want to change them too much. Some of them are chunky, some of them are just super creamy. So I love how like their formula is different depending on which shade you go into, but oh my goodness. I just love these. And again, I do have a lot of green in my collection. So, you know, I don't need all of these greens by any means. I don't need all these palettes, but you know, I have them. So I try to enjoy them as much as possible. Okay, then we have another gloss, guys. This is the Vintage Glam. This one I just think is so beautiful. This was limited edition initially, and then they did recently bring it back in December, and I think it's still available. So I would highly recommend this one. This is a little bit different because obviously it's not all shimmer palette. And if you are into these softer, romantic, you know, purpley pinks, blush tones, I think this is so beautiful. You also have this gorgeous like taupey shade down here. And I think this is, if you want a little bit of something extra for your wedding day, I think this is a really beautiful like date night wedding look. I don't know why, but I always think this would be so pretty to wear at the wedding. Definitely wear for date night. I feel like this dethroned my Norvina because it's kind of similar. It's like purpley and romantic and very date nighty in my mind. But yeah, I think this one I just prefer a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more fun, and I always love the look whenever I go into this palette. I love the look. All right, then we have my Shadow Kiss from Alter Ego. As you know, this is my other Pan palette for the year. As you know, I've always said I love this palette. I still absolutely love this palette. I would be devastated if I did not have this palette. I would be devastated. I'm not going to show you what it looks like because, again, my Pan palette update will be next week, but I love this. Again, another Natasha Denona dupe. So sorry if you don't like that. All right, my camera is pretty much dead. So we're gonna have to be quick with this because I did not realize it was gonna take me so long to film this video. Anyway, I love this palette so much, but it's not quite my favorite because like I was saying, the matte formulas really stand out in this one. However, the shimmers are not as special, I would say. Like they're really not standout shimmers compared to a lot of the shimmers that I've just showed you. But as a whole palette itself, I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm sorry I can't show it to you, but you've probably seen it on my channel. Next up, I'm going to put the Avatar, the Lethal Cosmetics Avatar here. This is the water one. Now, this one is kind of like a wild card. I'm throwing it in there. But I think this is beautiful. I think this is gorgeous. And to be fair, if I'm going to go into blues, and I just want like a blue palette, I think this is perfect because you do have a little bit of brown. You have this kind of like off-white. You have this really bright sort of true blue here. And then you have these gorgeous shimmers. And I think they did such a good job with this. And part of me is thinking, should I have this one here instead of the green one, which would be the Earth palette, because I think that one is so stunning. I think all of them are so stunning. That's the problem. So I was really struggling to do this ranking because I did not know what I was doing with myself. I just did not know what I was doing. But this is what we're looking at. Oh my goodness. So gorgeous. And one of these is not even like a blue. It's like a purpley, tealy, gorgeous thing. Like it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. And then I'm going to put the other one here. This is the Air. So this is the last one. This is by far my favorite out of them. This was not my favorite. I've said that multiple times. This one, I looked at it, I was like, really? That color story? That is so weird. But I bought the whole collection. However, this is just an amazing color story. This is so unique. There's so many different types of looks that you can do with this color story, and I did not realize that until I started playing with it. I really, really love this one. I've spoken about it quite a lot, and it's actually currently my project level up, so I'm going to be trying to get quite a few pans in this, but this is just so beautiful, and the quality is just stunning. Oh my gosh, look at that. Stunning. Did you think you would see that from this palette? Did you think you would see this? It's beautiful. I would highly recommend getting these if you're not sure about Lethal Cosmetics or even this collection. Again, it's the only collection I've ever tried from them, but I have no regrets whatsoever. Okay, then we have the Glaminatrix. I'm absolutely 100% gonna get their neutral palette that's coming out, because I missed out on it and now they're coming out with the remix of it, and I am 100% going to be buying that. I don't care what it looks like, I am buying it because I love their formula. This is the Rich Romantic and it is ranked number 2. We only have 2 left. This is number 2 in my collection. I don't think I've spoken about this palette enough. This is very, very special. This formula is very, very good. And I'm so excited about what is it called? Like the new neutrals. I don't know what it's called, but it was the neutral palette that came out a few years ago. It was discontinued. I was devastated. Some of you said, oh, you didn't miss out on anything. I feel like I did. I need to know for myself. I'm absolutely going to buy the remix because I think the formula is absolutely beautiful. I think one of my favorite formulas, not only because the shimmers are stunning, but the mattes are really, really good. So they are a brand that just seem to know how to do it. They just seem to get them both right. Let me swatch. I'll swatch. Which ones would be fun to swatch? Maybe these ones. I mean, I've showed you so many pretty things that you're going to look at this and be like, well, that looks the same as everything else. Maybe, but I think the overall experience that I have going into this palette, not only is it very wearable, like you can do some really beautiful brown looks or some really light blushy tones, but these shimmers are absolutely stunning. So I just think that because they do it all very well, I very, 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 very much like it. Now I have seen some people talk about they flip, a lot of these flip very green, and I will admit that they do. A lot of them flip very green, and so if you're not into greens, maybe this is not the right palette for you because you look at this and you don't think it's a green palette, but there are a lot of flips of green in here. So if you don't like green, probably miss out on this palette, but I personally really, really enjoy it. All right, I have one more palette to share. This is my favorite palette in my collection. I think this was a no-brainer for me. You might not be surprised by this at all, or you might be surprised if you're not familiar with what's been going on lately. But I love this palette, and I think it is a step up from my Shadow Kiss from Alter Ego. They're very similar, but this one has what the Alter Ego does not have. It is this one, Gloss Gauze Gal on Jupiter. I never thought that I would love this palette as much as I do, but let me explain. It is neutral. It is cool tone. It has the mattes. It has the shimmers. But those shimmers are out of this world amazing. And like I said, Alter Ego has really good mattes, and I love the color story, but it doesn't have standout shimmers. This one does. So I feel like this could dethrone my Alter Ego because it has this color right here, which the Alter Ego Shadow Kiss has, that I absolutely love in that palette. And you think, really? You love that shade? Yes, I love the shade. I love it. So this palette actually has a lot of what that Shadow Kiss palette has. So while I'm working on the Shadow Kiss for my palette for the year, if I get like really far into it and I'm like, oh no, I can't use this palette anymore, I feel like I have one that I like just a little bit better. So obviously they're both tier ones. I would be very upset to lose both of them. I'm not gonna lie. I think this is just so special though. Now it does have a lot of silver. So not everyone wants like silver eyeshadow, and it has like a gunmetal one too. But oh my goodness, it is like so cool. Like this palette is so cool. And every single time that I have gone into this palette, I have been blown away by my look. I'm like, wow, look at you. Wow, I love it. And I don't go into it nearly as much as I need to. And this one, it didn't really swatch very well, but it's a gorgeous brownie taupe. Beautiful. So you can do like a normal look with this palette. That was, I think, this one, Hidden Herons, this one. But then you also have this one, which I didn't swatch, but equally just as beautiful. Oh my God, stunning. Stunning. It's a beautiful palette. And this is another one where I think sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not. It's part of their, obviously their Planet series. So this is the Gal on Jupiter. And you saw I have all of the other ones because I've waited and waited and checked their website over and over again. And now I finally have all of them because they came out with the rest of them in December. And I'm very, very pleased. This one I got a whole year ago. It's only now that I realize it's my favorite palette because I do think that while I don't go into it nearly as much as the other palettes in my collection, if I let myself, I could very well go into this all the time. I could, absolutely, but I don't let myself. So yeah, I think this is dethroned the Shadow Kiss, or could very well dethrone it. Obviously it is higher, ranked higher because it has those special shades. I do kind of group them as the same though. Anyway, that is my palette ranking video. I hope you enjoy. I will try to edit this down as much as possible. I know it's very, very long, so make sure that you had your drink and your food and all that. Thank you so much for watching. If you did watch to the end, if you watched to the end, give me like a little planet emoji, just so you know what my final one was, which was Jupiter. I don't think we have a Jupiter picture, but if you made it to the end, do a little planet emoji or whatever. Anyway, thank you so much, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!